Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. Hope everyone is having a good start to the new year. And today we're going to be talking about just what's been happening with the Andre Drummond situation in Detroit. And I'm going to be talking about where Andre Drummond's best fit, if he's going to go to a new team. Should these teams actually trade for Andre Drummond right now? Or should these teams potentially wait until he becomes a free agent, which he can become a free agent because he can opt out of his last year of his contract after this season. So please leave a like on this video and let's get started. So the Detroit Pistons, as reported by Vincent Goodwill on Yahoo Sports and Wojnarowski from ESPN and Shams Charania, have been in talks with mainly the Atlanta Hawks. The talks have been leading up and they've been going up on the rise for a good amount of time now. And the Atlanta Hawks are right now, they are the worst team in the NBA record-wise, and Trae Young needs a lot of help. They don't have a bunch of scrubs on that team, but they just need help because they've had John Collins out for a good amount of the season due to suspension. And then there are also guys they have Chandler Parsons, Evan Turner, who just have major contracts, and they're not really helping the team very much. So Andre Drummond could be the next piece for the Atlanta Hawks to make them go from a rebuilding team to the next stage. And then there are also the Boston Celtics, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Toronto Raptors have also expressed interest in Andre Drummond. So looking at the Pistons right now, it makes sense for the Pistons to decide to trade arguably their best player on the team in Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond's been an all-star center. He puts up a double-double every single night, about 18 and 16 every night you can get from him. Great defense. He's working on a jump shot, but I don't really think he should be taking a jump shot. He should just be mostly a great defender, pick-and-roll scorer, and then hopefully try to get a post-up game. But I think that will come in time, and he's been better from the free throw line, but he's not fantastic, obviously. But it's a lot better than where he once started. So can he go to a contending team and help them become a legit contender, or could he go to a team that's maybe in the middle of the standings and make them become a contender? So first I want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks, because the Atlanta Hawks are the ones that have been in the most talks with the Andre Drummond situation. And here's my thing with the Atlanta Hawks. This year has been very, very disappointing for the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young's been playing great, but it's almost like with him, you look at him and it's empty stats, really. He's putting up 28 and 8 a game, and he obviously needs help. But the thing is that you still got DeAndre Hunter on that team. Kevin Huerter is no scrub. Cam Reddish has struggled mightily, but you gotta wait with him. And then you got other guys on that team that could definitely help Trae Young. It's just that they're just losing, and part of it, I know John Collins has been out, but Jabari Parker has come in at that starting spot and played actually very, very well. They just don't have much of defense on that team, and they are a smaller team, so definitely Andre Drummond can come in and help rebound and fill that void that they have at the center position. The issue is the fact that if you look at the Atlanta Hawks right now, if you trade for Drummond, he could potentially leave the next offseason. So he has that player option for $28 million, but we all know that he's going to decline it, because if he declines it, he could go anywhere and still get more money. So if you're the Atlanta Hawks, do you risk giving up a guy like Cam Reddish, who I still think has a lot of upside? You're going to have to give up a first-round pick, and you already gave one up for you got one from the Mavericks, but I still don't think it's a good idea if you're going to give up a first-round pick for Andre Drummond and potentially another player that could be, a good part of your team, for a guy that could potentially be a rental for just the rest of this season. If I'm the Hawks, that's my main concern. I would not give up any of my young assets that I have currently that you have under control, and you can trade away for potentially more different players that are under your control, for a guy with Andre Drummond that could potentially just leave this upcoming offseason. So that's my main concern with the Atlanta Hawks. Do I think Andre Drummond's the best fit for the Hawks? Absolutely. I think Andre Drummond and Trae Young with that pick and roll will be great. The issue is, again, if you're going to be trading all those assets away, and I think that's not a good idea. My second concern with the Hawks is that Trae Young is you need to give him a max, obviously. You got guys like DeAndre Hunter, who I know is still only in his first year, but you got Kevin Huerter. The thing is that this could get really expensive really quickly with Andre Drummond, so I'm looking at potentially different centers that the Atlanta Hawks can go get. For example, I'm looking at the Indiana Pacers, and I know the Sabonis and Turner combo is actually working out very well this season. My issue is just I don't think the Pacers are going to actually become a contender with those two starting, because I think they hurt each other more than help each other. So maybe you could go get one of those guys. Sabonis is the better rebounder, but not the better defender. And no matter which guy you trade for, you still have years of control over them, and it's not as expensive. I know it's not all-star level Andre Drummond, but it's still helpful for the team. And you guys like DeAndre Hunter that are going to become stars. Cam Reddish could become stars. Trae Young is already a star, and it's going to need a max. If you get Drummond, that could get really, really expensive really quickly. So that's my second concern with the Hawks. If I'm the Hawks right now, I think this season is basically just a wash. I wouldn't do it. I don't think there's enough time. I mean, I know that the Brooklyn Nets are at the 8th seed with 16 wins, and you only have 8 wins. You could get to the playoffs easily, but does Andre Drummond really make you go from the worst team in the NBA to the best, or at least a middle of the pack team? I don't know, especially with the amount of injuries that you've had, and I know Trae Young's been great, but it's tough. I don't think you should do it, and he could potentially just leave. So you're not really a contender at all, and now you're thinking of trading away assets to get Drummond for potentially only half a season. I don't think it's smart for the Atlanta Hawks, and if anything, if you want Drummond, go get him in the offseason. You have the money. You can move players around. You can fill the center spot immediately. Don't give up your assets though for him. He's not worth that much. So that's the Atlanta Hawks. Other teams that were mentioned that are contenders. The Celtics. I like the idea of the Celtics, but again though, it's kind of like, are you going to be willing to give up your assets? And right now, you're second in the East. You are playing great actually. Even with Kemba Walker out, you're playing great. I don't think it's worth giving up a guy like maybe Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum if the Pistons want that, and then probably a guy like Marcus Smart to make the contracts match, and then potentially another first-round pick. Again, though, it's just I know because the Celtics are a contending team, it would kind of seem like you would maybe go for it. The issue, again, though, is just you have all these young assets that are going to be great for you for years, and you have them under control. I don't think it's worth giving it up for potentially a half-season rental with Drummond. Now, with the Celtics, though, they do need rebounding. They are a very small team. Daniel Tice is only 6'8" and starting at center, so Drummond would come in and help with the rebounding, but the issue is that, again, you're going to be giving up all these assets and part of guys that have really helped you already be this successful. I don't think Drummond's worth that. You can go get a different guy with size for not as expensive as Andre Drummond. So I think the Celtics, it's always good to especially with Danny Ainge, it's always good to kind of look at things, but I wouldn't pull the trigger if I'm the Celtics. The Raptors are definitely very interesting because I could definitely see Andre Drummond staying there if he does get traded there, and potentially because the Raptors get his bird rights, he can re-sign over the cap. My question though with the Raptors again is just, are you going to be willing to give up all these, maybe an OG Anunoby and then a guy like Fred VanVleet, who's been playing very great this season, and then a future first for a guy like Andre Drummond, or even if it's less than that because the Pistons are going to be desperate to get rid of him. I just don't think it's even worth it. I still think that you would want Marc Gasol starting at your center position, or Serge Ibaka, two guys that can shoot and spread the floor, but they also rebound, they block shots. So it's very tough. If there is a team that I see doing a trade for Drummond, it is the Raptors, because you could throw Gasol in, you can throw a younger player in. I would not give up Fred VanVleet, but I would definitely throw in a first. I think then, with that size, you're definitely up towards the top tier teams of the East, which you don't even know if you are at the moment. You're kind of middle of the pack, and I just can't see you reaching Milwaukee. But getting Drummond, you get another All-Star next to Siakam and Lowry. That's a pretty good trio right there. And with that trio, I could definitely see you guys challenging the Bucks with that, because you got size, you got defense, and you got rebounding. And then the last team that was mentioned was the Dallas Mavericks. And again, though, it's one of those teams that I don't really think that Drummond's going to stay there, like 100% going to sign an extension or stay there the next season. He could definitely just dip. And if I'm the Mavericks, again, I just don't think you have any assets you can even give up. You can't trade a first-round pick for a long time right now, because you traded all your picks for Luka. He traded an extra pick away, and Porzingis was multiple picks. So you can't trade any first-round picks for a while, and I guarantee the Pistons are going to want a first. So that itself, I think, basically takes the Mavericks off. And just looking at their team, they don't really have any guys that can be enticing for the Pistons, especially if the Pistons are going to a rebuild stage. Guy like Jalen Brunson's definitely interesting, but then how are you going to match the contracts? And then that's really it, though. You can throw a Tim Hardaway in, but then you lose like one of your best scorers, which is Tim Hardaway's having a pretty decent season, and I would not pull him away from Luka. So Mavericks, I don't think, are the option either. So I'm actually going to throw out a team that is actually kind of interesting to me, and it was actually brought up a lot earlier in the season, because there were already rumors about Drummond potentially already leaving and asking for a trade, or the Pistons just trading him. And I'm going to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. I've seen a lot on Instagram, seeing just kind of ideas being thrown around, and I could definitely see the Charlotte Hornets doing this. And the only reason why I say that is because they're kind of like, the whole thing with the Charlotte Hornets is that even with Walker, they were kind of stuck in that, purgatory range where you're not making the playoffs, but you're not a terrible team, so you don't get a good lottery pick, and you're not winning. So they're kind of stuck in the middle. Well, this season again has shown that the Eastern Conference is very weak, and if you get a guy like Drummond and you can convince him to stay, I think then Charlotte becomes a possibility going out and get a free agent, especially now that you're going to have a bunch of contracts like Nicholas Batum, Marvin Williams, Bismack Biyombo. All those contracts start coming off the books. So you have money now, and Devontae Graham has shown that he can be a great player in this league. Maybe not all-star this season, but who knows in the future. And you have him, and you can go get another guy, and you have young pieces to trade to get Drummond. That might be worth it. Now, if I'm Charlotte, though, I'm not giving up Malik Monk and Miles Turner and PJ Washington. You have to give up at least one of those guys, and probably a first. But after that, though, if I'm Charlotte, I'm going to try to make the Pistons accept less for a guy like Drummond, and then try to convince him to stay. Because James Borrego has done a great job with this team, has established the type of offense they're going to run. And I think Drummond can definitely flourish because it's a 4-out-1-in offense, and Drummond can just be that big down low that can really flourish with the rebounding and pick and roll plays with Rozier and Graham, and just going up and get the dunks. So if I'm Charlotte, I'm definitely thinking about it. But I would wait closer towards the trade deadline, because that's when the Pistons are going to be more likely to trade him for less. So those are the teams that I definitely think are in the Drummond sweepstakes. Do I know where he's going to go? Really, no. I think the best fit is the Atlanta Hawks, but I don't think Atlanta should do it. They have to find a different way to get a center that's going to work out for them without having to trade all their young assets. So for the Pistons, though, Blake Griffin has officially said he's going to go to surgery. So I think it is that time now that you have to hit the reset button. So trade Reggie Jackson, trade Derrick Rose, trade Andre, and any other guys like Langston Galloway. But keep your young pieces. Sekou is looking great. I know he hasn't played a lot this season, but I definitely see his potential. Luke Kennard has surprisingly been a great player this season. I did not expect him to be that great, especially when they started playing him at point guard. But he's been doing very well. Great shooter. Definitely keep him. And then Bruce Brown is a great defender, and I'm definitely keeping him. Any of the other guys, you know, they're kind of up for grabs, but I'm definitely sticking with those 3 guys that I mentioned. And unfortunately for Detroit, I think you're definitely going to rebuild mode now. You've been trying to make it work with Drummond and Josh Smith and Greg Monroe. That did not work out. You go get Blake Griffin, which is actually a pretty decent trade, because you finally get like a superstar. But then Blake Griffin just is constantly being injured, and now he's gonna be out for the rest of the season. So if I'm the Pistons, I'm very sorry, but I think it is that time, and it is showing, because you're 14-24 right now, and you're clearly not. You could make the playoffs still, but I mean, where are you gonna go? You're gonna face the Bucks or the Celtics or the Heat first round, and then it's, well, there you go, your season's over. So, Drummond is gonna be definitely a key piece for all the teams now, wherever he goes. And then come free agency, it's gonna be even more interesting, because he could go somewhere else even if he gets traded. So Pistons, get as much as you can for Drummond now, because you already know he's going to be opting out. And then hit that reset button. And then if I'm the other teams, you just got to keep scouting out what happens. Because I definitely think Drummond could change like a Raptors team to become a contender. But if I'm the Hawks, like, or a team that's like really below, like that just is not anywhere contending this season, I wouldn't even do it, because you're risking your young assets for a guy that could potentially just leave after this season, because it's not a winning situation. So those are my thoughts for the Andre Drummond sweepstakes at the moment. I know it's a little bit late, but we kind of just, nothing has really come ever since the first report came out that the Pistons were talking with the Atlanta Hawks. So I thought it was kind of interesting, and I definitely think that there are going to be more teams that are going to be looking into it later throughout the season. So definitely look out for that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video. I'm going to be trying my best to keep up with the videos for 2020. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and also please follow me on YouTube, on Twitter at Duncan_White14 for more NBA analysis, and definitely lots of tweets of the Bulls. I will be posting a video about the Bulls very soon. I have a lot of thoughts I want to tell you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I want to hear your thoughts on the Andre Drummond sweepstakes. So please leave a comment down below your thoughts on where Andre Drummond should go, what the Pistons should do.